Good evening, everybody. Hopefully everybody is doing fine this evening, and thank you for bearing with just a slight delay in the start this evening, but not to worry, not to worry. Hopefully you are all doing well. As you know, this is our series of Ask the Manager. Last week we had Andy on, and tonight we have two Goliaths indeed joining us this evening. We'll get them in just in a little second, but you know yourself, I can't do the show on my own. So please welcome the Injector Manager, will we call you this week, Boona? himself. Buna, how you doing, pal?
Yeah.
You good?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. I can't see the videos on screen, though. Do you need to move to a different screen?
Yes, I will move there shortly.
Brilliant. But yes, all good, mate. Thank you.
Good. Let's get the two of them in, shall we? So this evening we are joined by two absolute Goliaths of our FPL circles. Mark, who kind of started the whole thing off, I suppose, with the FF Scout, and yeah, what a start he's made. The other is Az. But Az himself, one of the nicest people in FPL, likes to do a little bit of tinkering and working his way through. It's just working out well.
It feels like you really thought through Mark's introduction. and you really stumbled on mine.
Do you know?
You're one of the nicest people in the community, Az. At least you got that. I'm the bad guy around here.
No, you're never the bad guy. Let's get these cameras on, shall we? Actually,
I'll take Goliath though. Never been called a Goliath before.
Yeah,
I'm
Goliath is
definitely running with that. Yeah,
that's a nice term.
let me just click.
I'll take it on a day like today.
There we go. We should now all be live. I don't know why everything's just suddenly paused on us though.
No, we're good. There's one screen that you need to move out of the way though. There we go, and that's all good.
That could have been a lot worse.
That could have been, but it's all fine.
Can I just say, guys in the chat, we finally have our cameras on. I hope you're all very happy. I did go for a shape up. I'm only joking. But yeah, no, it's an absolute pleasure to have these absolute titans, Titan and Az on the stream with us today. So, we're very happy. Well, look, we've got Lynn B in the chat saying, such handsome lads. Lynn, good to see you.
Well, we try our best.
And Buna. With his lovely curtain.
That don't work.
I'm just trying to figure out what's actually happened here.
Why,
on
what's
this
wrong?
side. No, I don't know. It just the cameras look like they're paused on my side. I think everything's visual, sound-wise is fine. But I just
they are paused. Yeah.
God, amateur hour, Mark. We don't know anything about this, do we?
Not used to this. These technical problems. It's normally smooth.
What is it with tech?
We do it.
The thing is that I've went and got the four of us all shaped in nicely, and then they've just decided to go on pause. But that seems to be a Discord thing. I have no idea. Buna, we shall let you crack into the questions, shall we, and just get things kicking off.
Yeah, so I think we should probably start with FPL Twitter. I'm only joking. Yeah, so the question that we ask all of our guests, Mark, whilst Llama tries to fiddle with the cameras, is how long have you been playing this game, and how did you first ever get into it?
15 years now, apparently. Yeah, I look back, I can't believe I had to count the number of years in my history. It's 15. Yeah, so this is the 15th season. And obviously, I played fantasy football before FPL. There was fantasy football before FPL, of course. So yeah, since 2006-07. How did I get into? Well, I told the whole Granville story basically. I used to play the original fantasy league with my mates when I had my job after uni, which was effectively just uni on a minimum wage, which is what I was doing after uni. And then when we kind of went our own way, I stopped playing fantasy football for a good few years. And then in 2006-07, I got a new job, met Granville, and he was like a really opinionated Mancunian who thought he knew everything about football. So I thought, well, I've got to play this game and beat this guy and shut him up. And then the friendship developed, and we started. I launched the website off the back of that, and then we started doing the Scoutcast, and it just went on from there. So it's been I don't know where I'd be without FPL. I sometimes think what would my life be like without that taking up my weekends, but also looking back over those 15 years, how FPL has changed my life and some of the experiences it's given me. Obviously have been amazing. So I owe FPL a lot, I guess, to where I am now and some of the experiences I've had, which have been, incredible.
Absolutely. And how would you say, go on, Lama?
I was just going to say, slight update, Mark is now fine. As for some reason, and you, Boone, have both frozen on cheeky grins, the chat are saying. Also managed to get everything else working. So Mark's obviously, gave us a good introduction there of how he got involved. I just want to try and do this introduction all over again. Can we just rewind and I'll re-edit this
Yeah,
out
but what,
later?
you spent a lot of time on this, didn't you?
I do. I spend
describe us as Goliaths, though. You could only yeah, right.
Oh no, that's still in there. That's still in there.
Go on
so
then,
that's
go on
all
then.
good.
Start all over again then.
Maybe cut out the bit about Az being a nice guy.
So again, folks, as we all know, a slight change in the day of the week and time. However, you will all appreciate why we have done this. When One Goat says that they can join us in the studio, you know, for you people, our audience, we're going to change things up to compensate. So this evening we are honoured, as you already know all this, as aforementioned, not just one but two goats of FPL. One of them is the founding father of FPL content creation and set the standard in football stat collation and content creation as well. The other is Az. So I kind of got that bit half right. Joking aside though, Az, the second goat on tonight's show, is one of the nicest FPLers in our circle and loves nothing more than going against the grain to a slight degree to try and search for that edge in FPL competition. Hard working though for these two is a complete understatement. This season, although they've worked together for quite a while now, they decided to lock heads and create their own podcast show together known as FPL Black Box. What a great addition to our weekly FPL content schedule it is, with great insight into weekly stats, decision making, and just the simple one-to-one interactions that the two of them have. We also love the tracking aspect that they've added to the show, so at the midpoint and at the end of the season, we'll see what worked and what didn't work, to enable them to become even better in the game that we all love to hate, FPL. We're honoured to have two of the best creators in our FPL space grace the studio this evening as an FPL Game Week first. We'll try and introduce the cameras if the tech holds. We can see how that's going. Stats, 59,500 followers on Twitter, over 250k when you add in Fantasy Football Scout, over 14,000 subs already on FPL Backbox, but actually, when you include FF Scout in there, combined over 70,000. So behalf of FPL Game Week, we can't get to wait to know the guys a lot better, what makes their FPL minds tick. They're both talented, skilled FPLers, and just really good guys. Welcome into the studio, Mr. Mark Southerns and Az.
Now that is an intro.
Blimey!
Now that.
How are they still awake?
Mate.
I'm loving it. Keep
Wow.
going.
So there you go.
Still another 10 minutes of that.
That's thorough. That
Do
is
you
thorough.
see why he wanted to do it now, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lost for words for once.
Mate,
yeah.
I can't believe that
Thanks so
I'm
much, Mark.
paused on like an absolute mugshot.
Yeah, it just seems to be you and Az though.
Like, I
Mark,
fully did my shape up and everything just before I came on,
I know you did.
and I've got my perfect new curtains out, and it's jammed.
Why is
Seriously.
Mark all right? This is typical
I've
Mark.
got the same camera as you. Why am I
I
all right
know.
and you're not?
It's not me. It's
I
Norma.
just went in and clicked Discord again, and then came back out, and all of a sudden Mark started working. So
Would you want to do it again, and maybe I'll start working?
Because
I'm being careful now in case I'm frozen on a gurning face.
you all, yeah, because you're all looking fine when you go in there, and then I don't know what's going on there. Weird.
We'll sort it out. Until then, I'm not asking no questions, for fuck's sake.
Oh, Christ, could be here a while then. So yeah, I was saying there in the introduction, Mark and Az. How long have you actually known each other then? Do you go back quite a long way then?
Well, you cropped up on the Scoutcast. What year was it? 2009.
Sorry,
was it,
cropped up.
Cropped up. You just appeared. Like, who's this fellow who's just cropped up on the pro?
I believe you made an instant impact on the Scoutcast. Many.
Yeah, you're like Mika Richards, weren't you? Like a big splash.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the story was that I used to be a user of Fantasy Scout back in when I was about 18.
The user, that makes you
The
sound
user,
like...
yeah, I know, like an addict.
Yeah.
Well, I was a bit of an addict in a way. And yeah, I used to. I went from just like being on the site, chatting to a few people. Then I started doing some of the community articles, and then I became an admin on the site. And then that's when I got invited to one of those scout camps, which was basically Mark put his card behind the bar,
Okay.
and everyone just went wild.
Yeah, and it got a bit. We went a bit too far when Andy joined the team. Then I regretted putting the car behind the bar at that point.
I mean,
That's all I'm going to say.
I went hard. I went really hard that day. But I ended up talking with Joe, who went to the same university as me, at Uni of Kent. And I got on really well with him. And then I think Granville was kind of in and out of doing the Scoutcast because he was embarking on his like political career. So one I just had an email one week from Joe saying, "Do you want to come on the Scoutcast?" And I was like, "Whoa, yeah, that's a big deal." It's like the one, it was the biggest one at the time. Went on that, met Mark for the first time. He called me AZ repeatedly.
Did you see you were called out the other night on the podcast?
Yeah.
On the double up podcast, they called you AZ. I'd forgotten I'd called you that. That was hilarious.
Yeah. But it went from there. Then Granville kind of stepped out of the limelight a little bit, and I filled in whenever he wasn't doing it. And then Mark dropped out, and it kind of became me, Joe, Andy, and David Monday for a bit, and Luke obviously coming in and doing them, and just kind of never looked back from there, really.
Oh, good stuff. And then this season, as I was saying in the introduction, Black Box got formed. So how did that come about? How did they conversations kind of start?
Black Box was all my idea, wasn't it? As originally.
You can bugger off.
Go on, you tell it, Az. You tell it.
Well, I've been kind of experimenting with a few different things over the years. So I was doing the Scoutcast. I wanted to kind of do something on my own.
Okay.
So I read the Black Box Thinking book, and I like the idea of this, learning from mistakes and accepting them rather than ignoring them and all that kind of stuff. So I started doing one on my own. I mean, the production values on this clearly aren't, amazing, but you should have seen my stream. It was just like the lower end doesn't even begin to cover what I used to put out. And it was just me chatting nonsense for 30 minutes or whatever. So I stopped doing that. And then I started doing Top Guns with Luke, which was fun, but we stopped doing that because he works crazy hours. So it just wasn't working. So I was going to start doing Black Box Up again and try and make it a bit better. And so I put like a preview out towards the end of last season. And it just so happened that Mark was looking to get back into it. So he messaged me and said, just seeing you've done this like solo effort on your own, I'm thinking of doing something. Do you want to team up?
No, good stuff.
You get that email from the Goat Goliath Titan bad guy of
sent
FPL.
I think if you look back, as that email arrived about 2 a.m, because I was lying in bed going, "Shall I do this? Is this a good idea?" And I was just like, "No, I'm going to do it." No, it wasn't that. Honestly, did I want to get back into doing stuff? Is the question, and I felt like I didn't feel ready to do anything on my own, so I wanted to join teams with somebody, and it was just chance. I saw Az did that pilot at the end of last season. I thought, oh, he's going to start something up next season. So
that kind of like butterfly effect type thing. So I remember just putting that out and just being like, I'm going to come back to this. I got a little like sting done and a little animations and stuff, and I was kind of ready to start on my own and just put it out at just the perfect time. So yeah.
What made you want to start your own channel as out of interest?
I just wanted something that was mine, because I'd been doing the Scoutcast for about 4 years, and obviously seen that grow quite a lot and stuff. But it always felt like it was Joe's thing. When Mark left, Joe took over, and Joe's brilliant. He does all the stats, he does all the plan and the structure and all that. And I didn't want to oust Joe from doing that because he's really good, and that's kind of what he does for Scout. So I wanted something that I could just lead on my own, and I had the Black Box idea, and I thought no one's really doing this. No one's really kind of looking back reflectively over mistakes. I think so many people are worried about hindsight and being called Captain Hindsight when they think about things that have gone wrong, rather than thinking about the decision making that they're actually making at the time. Yeah. So I wasn't really afraid of doing that, and I thought the idea was good. But yeah, having Mark next to me definitely gives it a bit more credibility, and he does a bit of work as well.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, just a tiny bit. I mean, obviously the bulk is with me, but he's just ideas off.
Just going back to a point you made as about Mark wanting to come back into it. Just going back to that, Mark, you obviously, most people know, and I was the same, when you took a bit of a break away from, the public image, should we say, a bit away from Twitter, but away from Fantasy Football Scout, and myself included. We were kind of like, where on earth has Mark gone? Where's Mark? We need Mark. All we've known since we started playing FPL was Mark Southerns on Fantasy Football Scout. What kind of brought you around to taking that break, if you don't mind me asking? Because I've always wanted to ask you that question, Mark.
Why I took the break?
Yeah.
But genuinely, it was a couple of things combining, really. Scout became much bigger than I anticipated. It was never intended to be my job. So I love my day job. I didn't want to leave that and do Scout full time necessarily. But when opportunities came up, the first time I left, it was to hire some people so Scout could run without me. So that is when we brought in Joe and Paul and people like that who were long-time visitors to the site and people I knew and trusted. I brought them in to help run it so I could then go back to the day job, which is what I did. And then after that, we were doing bits for the Premier League, but the Premier League stuff was just ramping up, and we effectively got offered a contract to work full-time for the Premier League, and that would involve me going to work with the Premier League. And I worked out their office. I went out to London 2 or 3 days a week and worked really closely with the guys on their editorial team, and also did the TV show, of course, the Facebook Live, and all the stuff you saw me doing then. When that opportunity came up, I couldn't really say no. I had to take it, right? So I did that as well as running the site and managing the site as it was with Chris. Chris looked after the commercial side of it. He came in and made Scout a business and a successful one, and he did brilliantly, right? But I was always running the editorial side of things. So I was running the editorial on Scout, plus doing what the Premier League needed of me for the contract. And I was just working myself into the ground. I was kind of not seeing my family, not seeing my kids. My health was struggling. I had heart issues, which meant that the doctors were telling me to slow down. But I was kind of trapped. I was in this contract with the Premier League, and Scout had been my labour of love for years, so I couldn't let that go. I couldn't get out of the Premier League contract and carry on doing Scout. I couldn't turn around to the Premier League and go, well, I need out of the contract. Oh, by the way, but I'm still going to carry on over here with my business. So it was just a case of, right, it's out. Get out, lock, stock and barrel. I need to get out of it, because I wasn't enjoying it anymore either. It wasn't fun when it became serious business as much as it was when it was just me doing it, and I was getting volunteers in. People were doing stuff with me for free, like tools like the ticker, for example, which everyone knows what a ticker is now. Mark Worth, who developed that with me, he did that for free for me because he was a loyal follower of the site. And so much in the early days was done for free and goodwill, and it was really nice. But then I needed to make money from it because I couldn't keep the servers running. And if you remember, you had to pay for the fixtures if you wanted a ticker. And I think it was like 15 grand I had to come up with a season. And I was like, what am I going to do? I can't come up with this money. I don't make any money off this blog. So then I had to start going, well, how am I going to make money to pay for the fixtures so I can keep doing what I do? That's when Chris came in,
what annoys me
helped
so
me do
much,
it,
Mark.
and then that's it. Yeah,
that's what annoys me so much about people
What?
getting kind of funny with how Scout is going, and everyone's talking about commercialism and greed and all this stuff. It's like, no, you can't have a site like Scout operating on the goodwill of others like it did, because now you pay editors and you pay content creators and you pay people to make this site do things, have the tools that people want and need to be better FPL
No
managers.
one works for free at the end of the day. That's what people don't understand. Like, we don't live a charitable life. Well, some people do, but not most people don't.
You can take it to a certain level on goodwill and volunteering your time. Everyone can do that. And, Black Box, I don't make any money from doing Black Box with Az. I do it because I love getting involved in the community, and I love working with Az, and I love doing the research, and I love presenting it. And, that's still something in me that I love doing, right? So I want to do it. I don't make money from Black Box at all. And I've invested in, some of the equipment I'm using. I've spent thousands in the last year making Black Box better, and so I'll keep doing that, right? And I've done that because I want to do it. It's my hobby and I love it. Scout used to be my hobby, but it couldn't remain a hobby because it just wasn't tenable. So I had to turn it into a business, and Chris was brilliant coming in and helping me do that. And it was profitable, right? We made a success of it. I understand the minute someone's making money, there's going to be certain sections of the community who don't like that, who are envious of that success. And I get it. But no one can accuse me of not working for it because I worked bloody hard. No. I worked bloody hard to get where it got to. So, it's hard to take sometimes when you see that, because I didn't want it necessarily. I didn't plan for it to turn into what it became. And I actually think that any success I had, I earned because I worked so hard at it. And in the end, it was too much for me. I couldn't keep it up. It was affecting my health, and it's affecting my family. So,
you're synonymous. You're synonymous with
I'm getting choked up talking about it. It's hard for me, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, when we think about FPL, you're kind of synonymous with that. There's a particular reason when official FPL hand an assist to a player that everyone says, Mark knows someone at FPL Towers.
He put the call in. Yep.
But on a serious note, how many calls do you put in a season, Mark?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to do that. I mean, like, I was privy to. I was privy to the rules behind all that. Right? I know how all that works. Right? I know how that relationship works with the game and Opta and what happens on match days and what goes on. And I know, I can tell you now, when there is a contentious decision, it is scrutinised so much. And so when I see the community going, oh, it's rigged and it's this and it's that, and I need to go. When I used to work for the Premier League, they wouldn't let me go in and respond.
Guilty.
Right?
Yeah,
they wouldn't let me answer the community going, why is this and this? Why is that? They didn't want to engage because it was too much. You couldn't, once you engage with the community, you're doing it forever. So I totally understand that. Now I'm not part of that. I'm just an individual on Twitter. I can help explain the decisions, right? I'm not standing up for them and justifying it. I'm just trying to explain why things were decided the way they are. Because I think there's not many people in the community who know it as well as I do. Probably not anybody, because they're either working for Scout and working for the Premier League, or it's me, basically. So I can help people understand it and hopefully diffuse some of the frustration when it doesn't go the way of your team or the way of your players, right? So
without going into specific situations, Mark, could you dispel one recent altercation for me? I feel like I'm going to see the doctor. Do you remember the recent assist that Watkins got?
Yeah.
For Keenan Davis, who was on the other side of the 18-yard box when that ball was played in. How was that given assist? But the one for Wolves where a ball was played over from the quarterback. Remember, I asked you this on Twitter.
Because I had Podence, right? And Podence crossed the ball and Out-Nori scored. And
so did I.
So I was like, oh, are they going to give that to me as a Podence? Am I going to get that assist? And I didn't get it. And I was like, okay. But that one first, the reason why that wasn't given is because Neto is making a run in the box. And it was adjudged that his cross, the Podence cross, was aimed at Neto and that area of the goal as well. It's aimed at the kind of just outside the 6-yard box. And the defensive clearance skews the destination, but also takes it onto Out-Nori, who scores. So there is no way you can really claim that Podence was either aiming for Out-Nori or he was aiming for the area of the pitch that Out-Nori was in when he scored. No one crosses from one side of the pitch to the other, skipping the penalty box, do they? Right? That's not the intended destination of a cross, right? So the player wasn't the target and the destination wasn't the desired destination. It just so happens the ball ended up there and Out-Nori scored, but it arrived there via the headed clearance. So that one's fair. I think that's totally explainable. The Watkins one, yeah, he might not have seen Davis, but what is Watkins' intention when he heads it? His intention is not to head at goal. It's to head across the goal to hopefully find a teammate to score. And the touch from Bartley, he doesn't claim possession. It's one touch off his chest. It's a bad touch. It's a miscontrol. And Davis scores. So the ball never really leaves the area that Watkins was aiming for. And so because of that, it has to be an assist because Watkins is intending to head the ball across. The ball stays in that area when Davis nips in and scores. And the touch from Bartley doesn't change that. So it's an assist.
Did you have Watkins in your team, Mark?
No. I was just going to ask that.
I've got a sign there saying that. No, and the thing is, a lot of the people around me who are my rivals have got Watkins. So I was like, oh, bloody hell. So I knew it was going to be given the minute I saw it. But I didn't see it till post-match, actually. It was like I saw the furore and then I watched it. And I saw it had been given. And I was like, oh, I wonder what this is about. And I was like, yeah, okay, it's an assist for sure. So it was, I didn't watch the match live. I just saw the flames going on after the match.
Yeah. I feel like we've just probed Peter Walton on a VAR decision.
Yeah, I hate that bit where they go, let's go to Peter Walton. Yes, I don't want to. Let's go to Mark Southerns to justify another dodgy decision by the FPL. No, I don't want to go for that.
So, see, with regards to, like, we've kind of touched on it there and jokingly put in that, Mark, you have got that direct link straight into FPL Towers.
No, I did have.
Yeah.
Who blocked him?
Joking aside, if you and yourself if you could change anything, and you don't need to, but if you were to change anything about FPL and its current status, would you change it? And what would it be and why? You can kick off if you want.
Good one, so go on.
I mean, I've got quite a few. I think the basic game works so well because of how simple it is, and I think that's the biggest attraction. And I think we all know that. And I think when they try to bring in things like the ultimate, game, and you could make subs after each match day and stuff. It didn't take off like people thought it would. So I don't think the game needs a huge overhaul. The big thing that I'd like to see is the chips, and I think the chips being used at the end of the season is completely ridiculous. I think they should bring in chips at the start of the season. Have them like the wild card. So you've got first half of the season chips and second half.
Yeah.
And I know lots of people are against chips and say they take the fun out of the game. I think one of the reasons they take the fun out of the game is because they all get saved for this end period. And if you try and use them at other times, you often get burnt. Whereas using them at the start of the season, when there's more kind of variance and more and all that kind of stuff, I just think it would just make the game more exciting and make those chips a better option for people. So that's the first one that comes to mind for me.
No, thank you very much for that. You're not the first person that we've had on the show that suggested that. Almost like a double up of the chips. You get the same stack of chips, but you can play them in both halves of the season, so to speak. Yep. So no, you're not the first. What about yourself, Mark? Anything you would change?
It's really simple. Let's add an attacking midfielder position. Simple as that. I just think the game has moved on massively in the last 5 years in particular. And you can argue that fullbacks, they're not the players they were. I mean, I picked out Matt Taylor as a Hall of Famer from 2006-07, and he got 8 goals that season, which is incredible. But when you look at it in the context of attacking fullbacks now, if Robertson and Trent, what did they get, 18, 19 assists last season?
Yeah.
Ridiculous, isn't it? So that position is under scrutiny in terms of, do we need a fullback position as well as centre-backs, defenders, but certainly midfield. I mean, I think it's time now to separate midfielders such as Declan Rice from midfielders such as Lingard or more to the point Sterling and Salah and players like that.
So would you change the way someone like Declan Rice got points, Mark?
Yeah, I would add more points for clean sheets. I'd change by adding them. They would have a different weighting in the bonus system as well. So perhaps tackles one for those midfielders would be worth more BPS. I'd try and I'm sure there is ways. If the minute you separate the midfield bracket into two, you've got ways with the BPS that will mean that Declan Rice and Kante and players like that could get bonus for what they do and could be more valuable. Because I mean, while I was there, right, while I was at the Premier League, there was this. We did discuss how can we get players like that. Kante, I think, was Player of the Year. Was he Player of the Year when Leicester won the title? And it was like, well, why aren't we recognising Kante's achievements in the game? And Kante's a brilliant player, but FPL doesn't think he is. So I know there was this desire to make those players more appealing, but we can't do it while you've got Salah and Kante as the same position. It's impossible.
Yeah.
I think by breaking them out, there's a chance to do that.
Yeah, we've spoke about that before, Mark, haven't we, Buna? Exactly what you're saying. You've got so many players like your Kantes and your Jorginhos, etc., that you're just not going to pick them, and so I don't know if anyone's counted it up or anything like that, but there must be God knows how many players that just don't actually get picked at all. Yet, quite rightly, as you're saying, they're actually top performers for their clubs.
And
if
good
not,
players, like Højbjerg's a good example, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to pick Højbjerg. Played pretty much every minute this season.
Yeah. And he'll probably be Tottenham's Player of the Year, right? Maybe Kane will be, but he won't be far behind. He'll be supporters' Player of the Year, but we're never going to pick those players, are we? No. And it's a shame. It's a real shame because and it also makes the forward classification harder as well, because every year you've got is Mane and Salah a forward this year, is Sterling a forward this year.
But we add a different dynamic to it. You know how goalkeepers get a point per 3 saves? Would you be like a point per X amount of tackles or something, or interceptions?
Yeah, maybe. If you couldn't, so you get an extra point for clean sheets. So maybe midfielders get 2 points for clean sheets. Maybe you have to go further and make it 3 and make defenders 5. I don't know, but it'll give you a bit more flexibility. At the moment, the 4 positions are outdated and too rigid, in my opinion. There is a fear that by introducing the 5th position, it would add complexity. But I think the FPL community is ready for that. I reckon that the hardcore would embrace it and welcome it as a new twist, a new strategy. And the casual player, if you like, I hate that casual player. So we say new managers, right, rather than casual, would adapt to it, right? The original Fantasy League had fullbacks and centre-backs. And that did all right. I played that game. I didn't find that intimidating. So why can't we have midfielders and attacking midfielders now? I think we're ready for it. So And I just think it'd be a better game if we had that, or it could be. The potential would be there to make it a better game.
No, definitely, and exactly. It just opens it up a lot more instead of like us coming on our show, or you guys getting together for Black Box episode and pretty much running out with inverted commas template teams. You would think, like what you're saying, Mark, there would be a whole lot more variance across the platform.
Yeah,
you'd like to think so anyway.
Yeah.
But as you say, I think all managers would adapt to it, old and new. Well, new people wouldn't know the difference anyway if they're brand new.
I mean, I think new people to FPL would look at it and go, "Oh, why is Salah a midfielder? I thought he was a forward." If anything, it's confusing now.
Yeah, aye, that's true. Yeah. Una, I know you've had a lot of questions that have come in via your various WhatsApp groups, your Twitter sphere. Just so we know, by the way, this is just a botched effort of getting all 3 cameras on the one, or 4 cameras on the one screen. I'll get this all sorted for next week, or maybe even Thursday. But I'm glad to see that everyone can see us all in our glory now. So yeah, Bruno, any questions that you want to give Mark and us?
Yeah, so obviously we know your pedigree in the game, Mark. It's absolutely brilliant. Your record speaks for itself. But I just wanted to get a bit of a summary of how this season's gone for you. And kind of tying in with one of the questions from one of our regulars, Ian Anderson, who talks about, what sort of worked well for you this season, because, once again, you're storming. So, yeah, just give us a bit of a summary of this season and what you think's worked well.
Yeah, I've done well. I'm really pleased with where I am at the moment. Normally, if I'm going to finish around in the top 10K, I normally make a late surge and I get in the last 2 or 3 game weeks, whereas I'm in now. I'm in touching distance of a top 1K finish, which was the tongue-in-cheek ambition at the end, at the start. Az and I were determined we were going to set clear goals. That was part of the black box theory, so we wanted to do that.
Said we weren't supposed to do it.
I know, but we weren't meant to achieve it. Yeah, so I haven't done it yet. I haven't achieved it yet. But yeah, I mean, what's worked well? I mean, I think what's worked well is just doing black box, right? I think it's proved that for me, I need to be intensely involved in the game and the content and research that goes into being intensely involved to do well.
Yeah.
I don't think I can play the game where, I watch match of the day, then make transfers on a Friday evening or Saturday morning. I don't think I'd do well like that. I need to invest more time in it, and that means that I don't do crazy amounts of research. I think I've over the years developed like a kind of sweet spot of this is enough time investment to make decent decisions most of the time. It takes, obviously, I played the game 15 years, so I don't know. It's very hard to describe what that level of commitment is. But I think, just the combination of watching matches and taking what you absorb watching matches and checking data to see whether that, that contributes to that information that you've gathered, and just talking to people in the community and having that conversations with Az, that really helps as well. So it's a combination of things.
Your team for you, Mark.
How much did Az pay you for that?
The team for me. But yeah, for me, I need to be neck deep in it to do well. Whereas I know that others find that sometimes overthinking is what comes out of that, and then that does their rank harm.
Yeah, I was just about to say that overthinking certainly comes into my team now and again.
That's
quick to act.
That's quite interesting. That is quite interesting. And another question that kind of comes out of that is just from a personal perspective, I found the spread of games a little bit overwhelming, and I think I personally have fallen into that overthinking category, and watching every single minute has probably not done me so well. How have you, how's that worked for you? Is that something that you've enjoyed? Because I know you watch a lot of football.
I've enjoyed it kind of, but it is difficult. I mean, I make sure I don't watch every game because, again, part of the reason why I backed out of doing scout and full-time fantasy was I wasn't spending enough time with my kids or doing other things, and it's not good for you watching football all the time. I don't believe.
Especially this year, that's made it even harder, hasn't it?
Yeah, because the frustrations of being an FPL manager during this period are difficult, right? We've all had problems, some worse than others, some more than others, in terms of problems with their team through postponements and players missing out and stuff like that. It's really been difficult, right? New challenges we've never had before. And you've either had luck with those or you've had bad luck. And if it's bad luck, you've suffered, right? And you've got to deal with that. And it's difficult. So I think it's been really testing this season in terms of how much you ration yourself in terms of how much time you invest in watching football, how much time you invest in your team as a result of that. So yeah, I've been strict to myself in terms of the football I've watched. And yeah, I think, like I say, I think over the years I've just developed an awareness of how much I need to spend on my team to do well. And also, how much I go into data, how much football I watch. And I think that only comes after years of playing the game. You know what's right for you. Because if you go too much, if I sat there after this podcast and sat for 5 hours looking at data tables, I don't think the value of that would be worth it, worth the investment. Whereas if I sit down on a Friday evening or before the black box and invest a bit of time then, having gathered and processed stuff throughout the week, and to be fair, I think about FPL all the time. There's not a day goes by when I don't think about FPL in one facet or another, right? But I then bring that to the table when I sit down and look at data or I watch a few matches. And I think I've got that about right over the years. So it's difficult to quantify.
So would you say that, I know, obviously using the hub and everything, for a lot of the stats gathering, if you like, or where all the stats are placed for you to siphon through. But with eye test, is that something that you would say has to come into it?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't. Because like Az and I have said throughout the series on Black Box, there are things that the data doesn't reveal.
Yeah.
And Az can talk more about this because I know he's got
stance on that. As like, how do you make your transfers? Is it more stats, more eye test, history? Where do you kind of stand?
Yeah, I mean, I went on a bit of a rant about this on the last Black Box because I look at players like Iheanacho and Lingard, and the Twitter community saying they can't keep it up, their stats are terrible, their XG is really poor. Like, if you genuinely think that, you've either never played FPL before or you don't watch football, because it was obvious. It was so obvious to me that those players were players that we needed to get in our teams, and the stats for me isn't a good enough barometer of whether those players are going to carry on or not. Because there's some players, and it happens every season. And I can think of Yaya Toure, Aaron Ramsey. These are players who don't necessarily have the best stats, but will find a way to score goals and get you assists, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So I do stats. I'm a researcher by trade. I do a lot of stuff with stats. I'm always looking at stats tables, and particularly like heat maps. And there's 3 stats in particular that I like: touches in the area, shots on goal, and chances created. I think those 3 give me a really good metric of how that player is going to do for my FPL team. But most of the time, I will base it on the match that I've seen, and I'll think, okay, that player looks good. Can they back it up with the stats? And if they can, then perfect. I'll bring him in. Yeah.
I mean, I think Boona knows this. When I kind of first got into FPL, if you like, I mean, I didn't even know what the chips were for to begin with. I didn't really look into it. Didn't even know you had to change your team supposedly every week. It was like a zombie team I had until I kind of got into the nuts and crux of it. But when I first started looking at stats, I found it a bit overwhelming. And then what you've just said there, and I think, Mark, you were fairly similar. There are certain stats that probably stick out over other ones. So you don't need, you don't necessarily need to go, knee deep into it. But there are certain bits of gold that you can pull out and then match that up with your eye test, so to speak. But
the player, I think the tool that I use the most are the player comparisons. So when I'm trying to decide on a defender to bring from a team, or whether to go for Vardy or Iheanacho. I mean, Vardy or Iheanacho was a perfect example, because I ran the numbers between those two, thinking, okay, Vardy's got the history, he is a bit of a stats buster, but he hasn't been performing that well. Are there signs that I think he's going to start going on a run like we've seen before? Yeah. And like Iheanacho's stats were just like, they were just superior in every single way. Like, there was no reason why you would pick Vardy, either from what you've seen, on TV, or from those stats. So to me, that was a perfect example of when the two just map perfectly, and it's been a great decision, right? Because Iheanacho's just been killing every week.
Yeah. There was another one. Do you remember Gundogan? Do you remember when we did that show? We looked at Gundogan's data, and we were like, "What the hell is going on here?" And I don't think either of us had him at the time, and we got him in that week. And then the eye test just aligned with the data, didn't it? Perfectly. You started scoring finishes that were like
prime Aguero. He tended to.
And we were comparing him to De Bruyne, right? Because De Bruyne's had a good season by football standards, but I'd say
not by his standards.
He's had a very poor season FPL standards. Like, he just hasn't been the player that I thought he'd be this season. Gundogan also hasn't been the player that I thought he'd be, but in the opposite way. So. Yeah.
Can I just mention something else which is important to FPL Black Box, which I've done differently this season and I haven't done before, and that is when you get something wrong or when you miss something, look at why that happened and how that happened, right? And the temptation is that when you don't get a player in, or you think about that player and don't get him in, or you miss him, like Bale this week, for example, is a case in point. What I'm doing this season, I'm not just letting that go and forgetting about it, but at the same time, I'm not beating myself up about it. What I do, I go, why didn't I go for Bale? What was it that convinced me that Bale wasn't a good option? What did I miss? And what do I need to do to make sure I don't make that mistake again? So when you make a mistake, it's about admitting that and figuring out how that mistake came about, and then making sure you don't make that error again.
And sometimes it is hindsight, right? Like I'm trying not to beat myself up too much about the Bale thing, because I still think Kane and Son were better options. I didn't want to triple up on Spurs, all this kind of stuff. But I think the mistake is that I thought Bale not starting in that final had meant that he was a bit more at risk of starting. And it's actually Luke who pointed out to us in the chat the other day, Mark, that, well, of course Bale's not going to start in that final because they need someone who can track back and run back. Whereas against Sheffield United, they don't need someone.
Yeah, but not only that though. Bale started the first game under Mason because Kane wasn't fit, and I thought to myself, I can't judge Mason's team on that because Kane wasn't there. So I thought to myself, when Kane comes back, I think he will play Son and Moura and play free in midfield. I didn't think that Bale was nailed on. And I because of that and that belief, I took that into the cup final, and the cup final team sheet just confirmed that. And that was a mistake, total mistake. What I should have, when I look back, and not only what you say there as about, well, he didn't play in the Carabao Cup final because of City, but also Mason is trying to win fans round, right? He's trying to play attacking football and win the support of the supporters and the players. There's no better way of doing that than playing Gareth Bale. So it's a mistake. I should have considered that, and I didn't. So that's my point. It's like, you can, if you like, just go, oh, I missed his points. Oh, so what? Move on. Or you can do what we do and go, right, we got to.
Oh, you're only saying this
sure
because he got a hat trick. You wouldn't be saying this if he blanked and all that kind of stuff. But he didn't. He didn't blank. He was the best player on the pitch.
We've got one here, Boona. I'm conscious, obviously, because I know, Boona, there'll be a lot of questions that'll have been rifling through the chat. It's like the Matrix here. I'm sitting, can see it going. Before you
go into that question, I just wanted to check with Mark. So, Mark, obviously, you go through that analysis stage, whether decisions worked or not worked. How do you then adapt that decision or the outcome, kind of moving forward?
You just make sure you log that and you record the fact that how that happened and what led to that, you missing that player, and.
But how can you use that moving forward, though? Because it's a completely different situation, isn't it?
I'm going to be referring to it I'm going to remember these incidents last season. Like, so, I made up my mind too quickly on Mason's first 11, thinking I knew what his best 11 was. And I shouldn't have done. And I said this in the show. I said, we don't know Mason's team yet. We don't know how they're going to play. And so we're risking going in on Son and Kane captain without really knowing what we're going to get. So that's a risk. But I did think I knew I thought he wouldn't pick Bale. I thought he was going to use Bale the same way Mourinho would, as in an impact sub at most. But of course I got that wrong. And so what I'm telling myself there is I've got to make sure I don't jump to conclusions when new managers comes in about what their first 11. Look at Tuchel, for example, right? We still don't really know about his rotation policy at all. I got that wrong as well. I thought Alonso would start over Chilwell for this game, right? I was convinced that he wouldn't play Chilwell in 4 consecutive matches. But obviously, Tuchel thinks the gap between Chilwell and Alonso is so big.
I told you he was a bad
that he has to risk it. So that's a mistake.
I warned you.
Yeah, you warned me, but it's better that I go, hands up, I got that wrong. I completely thought I'd read Tuchel and his rotation policy and thought I convinced myself I could read it when actually I got it wrong. So again, that I've got to take that into next season. When a new manager comes in, you probably need a long time before you can make assumptions like that. And I didn't give it long enough. Now I know, like anyone considering Lonzo now go, no chance. Look, he didn't play in that game. And he played the Fulham game, which is the first game that I held him for, and he hit the post twice and he was unlucky not to get points. So I was looking ahead to the Brighton game and going, well, was it Brighton? But the game of the weekend, and thinking he would play that one. Yeah, it was mine. But yeah, it wasn't to be, was it? So again, it's just acknowledging your mistakes and seeing how you can prevent yourself from going there again is important, I think.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned it there at the introduction. I know that the two of you had kind of locked heads. That sounds wrong. But got together halfway through the season. What's went well? What hasn't went well? Where can we learn? Where can we improve? Even though within your own right, as Buna mentioned, you're obviously both stellar managers as it is, but always looking to keep improving. And that's a surefire way of doing it is, noting and all the rest of it. The kind of... There's two questions that we've got left, I suppose, and then we'll dive back through. I know, Buna, you got inundated. I saw your inbox, so I know you've already got some on the back burner, and I would imagine the chat's going nuts as well. So we appreciate your time this evening. It was mentioned on the show with Andy, and I want to kind of bring it to you guys as well, because of obviously how popular the two of you are, both in and around the Twitter sphere, but also obviously Black Box, quite rightly. What do you make of team cloning? And the reason that I'm asking that is because I know factually that someone I know personally, so it's not Twitter sphere, it's in real life, if you want to call it real life, basically sat and watched Andy's stream and has copied his team game week for game week. And I know that he's going to hit me at the end of the season with, look how good my rank is, when I've sat and watched him doing it basically week in, week out. Now, I know it's hard for you guys, as content creators, because that's half the, the public want to see what you're getting up to, what dilemmas you are facing week in, week out. Is there a way around it? What do you do about it? Or do you just kind of shrug it off and it is what it is? You can't prevent it.
I mean, my first thought is I don't know how it's possible. Because unless, if you're making transfers at the start of the week and you're not telling people that you're doing them, you're missing out on price rises. If you're making moves at the end of the week which are different. I mean, Mark and I do Black Box on the Thursday, and then by the Saturday we both come up with completely different things that we don't share before the deadline. So I'm amazed that it's even possible to do like for like every week. I mean, the kind of the ethical side of it and the why even bother playing the game and stuff is fairly obvious, isn't it? Like, why, if all you care about is winning a mini league, then it probably does make sense to copy someone like Andy, because he's probably going to do a better job than you are because he spends so much time doing it. But if if you're in a mini league with a load of people and the top prize is £1,000 or something like that, then ethically, obviously not right, but I can see the logic of doing it because all you want to do is win that money, right? But for people who actually play FPL, then obviously it's copy. And for me, if someone copied me every week, bloody good luck to you. You end up million in the world after 15 weeks and be like, what the hell why did I go down this path? So you just copy people's mistakes, right? It's
talking of winning leagues, we've got Tom in the chat. You might have seen his question. He asks, does Az think I'll take the Belushi's league trophy?
He's top, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
Good position to be in.
Right, the final question from us too. I just want to say thank you very much for getting to know you a little bit better in the chat. Are already appreciating it. I've seen a right good few comments coming through, Mark. Thank you very much, Mark, for being so open and honest. As you were right at the beginning. The chat, I appreciate that.
Too,
I know that, and that's
yeah.
why, geez, give us a chance. And obviously to Az as well, just being honest and just being straight, and that's why Buna and I and Matt got together.
You haven't heard the full honesty yet. Mark's got a piece coming.
Oh yeah. Oh no, we'll get there. So for the final question, I'll come to you first, Az, and then we'll get Mark's answer. Okay, but you need to put yourself in the situation. So it's the final seconds of a Champions League final. You're through on goal, 1-on-1 with the keeper, Az. You're just about to lace the ball with your boot when out the corner of your eye you see your strike partner there. Now you know he's not going to miss, surely, because he's got an open goal. The keeper's 1-on-1 with you, Az. However, it's you that's got the ball at your feet. What are you doing? Are you smashing it or are you passing it?
I'm passing it.
Ah, there. Nice and easy. Nice and easy.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm passing it. I'd love to be the guy who's all about the glory and wants to take that chance. But if you've got the opportunity to pass it to an open goal, I mean, I'm still not over Kane and Sterling in the World Cup. He squares that ball and we go through to the final. So I don't want to be like that. So yeah, I'm passing it.
No, thank you very much for that, Az. And Mark, for yourself, what would you be doing in that? Would you be
He's
the same?
shooting. Don't even.
No, I see loads of missed chances where I think, God, if the player had actually squared that, if he'd have had the vision to see that player rushing in, the credit he would have got for spotting that incredible pass, that layoff, would have been amazing. And you see it quite often, like a guy through, not one-on-one, but he's got teammates in the centre and he shoots on the near post, and you just think, the amazing skill it would have been just to know your teammate is running in and lay it off them perfectly to roll it in. The satisfaction of that goal would have been greater than the gain for that individual. But it's so hard. I'd have looked to pass it, with a no look pass though, just so I get credit for that.
Oh right, yeah.
I'm all about the ego, of course. So.
The Bobby for me now, yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for for that, Boona. What's been happening? What questions are you?
I just thought we'd hand it over to Mark to tell us a little bit about something that he's been working on alongside Gianni and Ed regarding the summer. Mark, over to you.
Yeah. Well, we announced details today of Fest on the 13th of August, and it could have gone better, couldn't it?
Good reception. Yeah.
We got it wrong. We got it wrong with the VIP thing, and I really regret that now. I regret not. It was, when looking back, it's just obvious. It's not what we set out to do. We want to bring people together and take things up a level with this event, not to separate people out. But we genuinely thought, right, that if we get 500 people there, we genuinely thought on the deadline day, there will be people who want to talk to people like General, Andy, myself about their team, Thanks, about their team, right? Because there'll be a few hours to go, right? And what we didn't want is people just hovering around General, waiting for him to break conversation and going, "Oh, mate, would you mind looking at my team?" Which I think would happen, right? And when we don't want the content guys to not turn up because they don't want an evening being housed, because it's a public event. It's not just, that's the thing, it's not just about the Twitter community. It's not an event for the Twitter community. It's an event for any FPL manager can come and buy a ticket, right? So we are going to get people who listen to General's podcast, listen to at Black Box, listen to Andy, who want to meet them and also ask their advice, right? And there'll be a guy there wanting to copy Andy's team probably, right? So basically we were thinking, well, the best way of circumventing that is to give people who really want that the opportunity to do it. And that was the idea of the early access. We should have called it early access. Why we called it VIP? None of us three spotted that. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. And then, I know the price was an increase on the general admission, but we were going to use that to make that experience, that VIP experience, really special. And we had ideas how we were going to do that. And obviously the reaction today means that we're not going to do that now. We've completely cut that out, and we won't be doing that. And hands up, we made a mistake there, and I really regret it. And
I think just quickly, Mark, I think what's really pissed me off today, and ever since this Fest thing gets launched, I mean, I think there's two sides of things. There's one side of thing with Fest, which is this going to work? What exactly is it going to like? If I pay, what does my money get me? Is it worth the money? That's one question, and I think that's a good question. And people are a bit confused as to what exactly the event's going to entail, because it's kind of evolving, right? As you do it, that's one thing. But the people that come out and are saying that this is all a money grabbing thing, and this is all about making money and business and all that, I know you. I've known you for years. Like, you wouldn't be involved in this project if it was something like that. I know Gianni from Scout. I don't know Ed too well, but I know that this whole thing is about getting people together in a space where they can have fun and meet people and chat. And when I read the comments on Twitter from people saying that you're doing it out of greed and just to pocket some money, like you said to us earlier, how much are you going to make? 500 quid?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't intend to make any money from it whatsoever.
Exactly. This is the thing that's so ridiculous about it. The intentions are good. You wear your heart on your sleeve about these things. The idea of the thing is for people to have a laugh, and people are so anti this kind of stuff as soon as money's involved. I mean, look at Patreon, and Boona knows well about this. But as soon as money gets involved, people think immediately you're selling out, or you're doing all this stuff, and it's. I don't think it's fair at all, especially not in this case.
The thing is, and it goes back to what happened on Scout. There comes a point where to take things up a level, to go beyond where the community, where channels are now, where podcasts are now, where websites are now, you have to take that leap of faith and go, we're going to have to charge for this step, but by doing that, we're going to make it better. And we're going to take people with us, right? So when Scout launched and we became it wasn't intended to be what it is, but it became a business and the members there are now. Now, look, we've got other sites out there as well, Fix and Hub, who are professional outfits who are hiring people, full-time employers to work in fantasy football, right?
Yeah.
So that moved things on, right, to another level, right? And just like people are saying today, well, we can just meet in the pub for free. Yeah, absolutely. And I've done that for years, right? Going back 25 years, that's what I absolutely did. I just think when I saw this idea come up and when Ed put it out there, he was thinking about it. I think this is an opportunity to take the community up a level, right? I think we're big enough and there's enough people in the community so passionate about fantasy football that we deserve to have an annual event where everyone meets once a year, gets together, and we know we're going to that, right? We know we're going to that event. I've worked in the games industry for years, and we have many, many events where when we go to these events, we know we're going to meet our colleagues and our peers, our former colleagues, people we know on Twitter, people we know from doing streams of them. We know they're always going to be at these events, right, throughout the year. I want that for the FPL community, and that's what I wanted to do. To do that, you need to take it up a level. You can't just go, it's going to be free and it's going to be in a pub. Because do we want to stay there? Maybe we do. And this is what I said to Ed today. Maybe I've done the wrong thing. Maybe the community aren't ready for this. Maybe we just want to get together in the pubs with our mates and leave it like that. Maybe
but you can't have a couple of hundred people in a pub.
No, I know you can't.
Yeah,
So if
exactly.
you want a bigger event,
not everyone can come, right?
You have to
I know
commit
exactly.
to something like this.
I know. So I felt it was the time to go, right, let's try and do this. And so we're putting an admission charge because we want to deliver something which goes beyond what you get by meeting your mates in a pub.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got ideas on how to do that. Of course, we're not throwing it all out there on day one.
Yeah.
But we've got ideas. And this isn't even the first event. This is the party. This is the get together. This is the first event to say, hey, are you behind us? What do you think about this idea and this idea? And we want to go on from that, right, and grow it. But if the community reacts badly to this and doesn't support it, fair enough. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing back in this. I'm in this to lend myself to it because I think, I can help it become a success. I'm making no gain from it whatsoever. Right? I'm a director in the company. I don't expect to make a penny out of it. I'm doing it because I think it's a good idea and I think I can help it grow because of what I've become in the community. I've got a reputation for what I did with Scout. I want to use that to help the community grow a bit more. But maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe the community don't want it. Maybe I'm being Mr. Corporate again.
You really don't need to justify yourself at the end of the day, Mark. Do you know what I mean? The communities since day one had an issue with people, whether intentionally or not, monetizing anything, whether that be content or stuff like this.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, we can't move forward with people doing it as a hobby. We'll always be like this, but maybe there's nothing wrong with that. But I think in 5 years' time, this could be an amazing event that hundreds and hundreds of people go to share their experiences in FPL and Sky Game and whatever game they're playing, right? It could be amazing. But we have to take that first step. And I'll take some flack in order to do that. But I ain't going to take the abuse like I got today because I'm doing it.
You don't need to. You're always going to have people that don't like it at the end of the day.
Yeah, sure.
And trust me, I've been there's a fair few in the community that don't like me at the end of the day.
Really?
There's always shut up, Az. And you're gonna have that, mate. It is what it is. Like people are gonna cry, but I think the vast majority. Look, the main thing is you've responded to that within hours.
Yeah,
and
we fucked it up. I'm being honest. We fucked it up, and I really regret it massively. I don't know what went wrong. We've been meeting. We've been having meeting after meeting. We've discussed it. Eddie's worked so hard at this. Right?
Gianni and Eddie even got locked in a room, didn't they?
Yeah, the three of us have got together, and Gianni's worked on the materials, putting everything together. Yeah. We've had so many ideas come together, and we've just missed this detail of the VIP thing, which was wrong, and the money was wrong. Right, that amount was wrong. And we discussed it over and over and over. And now, in hindsight, it's easy to see the mistake. And it's hard, I can't justify it. We shouldn't have done it. All I can say is we had ideas where the fee and the would have grown and people would have gone, actually, that looks a good deal now.
Yeah. Because you were going to give someone an experience that was worth the money. It just didn't come across like that in the communications.
No,
that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
The idea was good.
We're all equally to blame with that, right?
Yeah.
Like we've all got to take the blame for that, and we put our hands up and we've retracted it immediately, and we've gone out there and done it. I don't want that to break the idea. I don't want that to kill the idea here and now, right? But I can tell you now, I'm not going to take what I got today on a regular basis because I'm not making anything from it. I don't think I will gain anything, and yet I will invest a lot of time in this eventually. It's hard for me this year because my day job is difficult, and I've said to Ed, I can't invest as much as I want to. But if this grows,
definitely,
I will invest a lot of my time and passion into it and make it a success. And I hope if we do that, the community will look back and go, well, thanks for doing that, because it's a great thing we look forward to every year. Yeah. But maybe, like I say, I've got it completely wrong and it's not wanted, not needed, or not even wanted. I don't know. We'll see. Truthful.
But I mean, that's the thing though, Mark, like what you say, taking it up a notch, and I think as you mentioned it as well, meeting together in a pub's one thing, 30, 40 people, something like that. That's great. But
I love that.
To go up a notch, you have to go the route that you were talking about. Well, like potentially down the route that you're talking about, a bigger venue. That's not to say that you can't have a drink in that venue potentially, so you're just in a bigger area. That's all right, so like the comments even just coming in the now, Mark, I don't know if you've caught any of them. Andy Max in there, you're doing a great thing, Mark. Don't be disheartened by a few negative comments. You corrected the VIP thing, but it's a thing for the community to come together face to face, and that's the point. I'm up in Scotland. I've already spoke to Boona about it. I'm more than happy to come down. Do you know? That's, I would be putting money into that to come down, because that's something that I want to be involved in, and that's just me up here in Scotland. General's only 20 minutes from me. I'm pretty certain he'd be there. FPL Salah's another half an hour up the road from me. He'd probably be coming down. So that's the type of thing I can see it working. Other comments that have come in, FPL Safa, who you might be aware of, I'm not quite sure, he was quite high up there. I wish, Mark, there was an event like this in South Africa. So, so we could take it global, Mark.
We spoke about that. We spoke about we could launch one in Scandinavia and India and America, because we know the communities are massive there, right? And growing all the time. South Africa has had a winner, hasn't it? So it's like we know there's potential that people will want this elsewhere. And I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, when we did the TV show, who would have thought that there would be a TV show dedicated to FPL? And there's people on Twitter going, we don't need this. What has this game become? It's got a bloody TV show, for Christ's sake, going out to 8 million people worldwide. It's not small, is it? It's not. No. We deserve a annual event where we get together, and it's a proper big annual event, not held in the King's Arms down the road. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think we're big enough where we can support something like this. It's just like it's got its own TV show. No one would have predicted that.
I just want to read a few more comments out, Mark, just to really show you that, those that are on Twitter with their negativity, that isn't the be all and end all. We've got Matthew Allen in the chat saying the festival will be great. It will become Glastonbury of FPL. Adnan from our WhatsApp group as saying, I'd fly from Slovenia. That's how much I like the idea. And we've got Chris Irvine saying, I'll be buying a ticket even if I can't make it on the day. So, mate, honestly, the idea is fantastic. Yeah. And I think once it kind of takes off and we actually do it, I think, that will then drive the masses for future events.
I hope so. I hope so. And I don't know what I have to do to convince people I'm not doing it because I'm grabbing money. I mean, I've done everything I'm doing with Az and everything I've invested in with Az with Black Box, I'm doing it for the love of it, right?
You bought me this mic.
Yeah, I bought him his bloody mic. I stick with Az for free.
He was so sick of my sound quality.
I know. I bought it out of my own money. I'm not. It's crazy. And so when I see things like that, it really hurts me, because that one of the reasons I had to get out of Scout, because dealing with the anxiety and stress that caused me was too much. And I don't want that again for something that. I mean, that was a business that was successful, and yes, I was making money out of that because it was successful and I bloody deserved to, right? This, I'm not even going into it to make money. So I'm not going to take it for this. So,
don't entertain it, Mark. Do not entertain it. No. You entertained it a little bit today and it just was not worth it, mate. It wasn't worth it. You're going to get that negativity.
Yeah, I know, but it's just people, I know it's on purpose and I know it's to get a reaction. Of course, we all know that, right? But I do take it to heart because I am passionately invested in what I do in this community, and I do it for the love of being part of it. And I want this event to be successful and the events to be successful, because I want to look back at it and go, like Scout, that's another thing I'm proud of being part of. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Jones bloke there again sums it up. The time that all you guys put in to making content, creating content, honestly doesn't go unnoticed. I know that it will be tough to balance with other things in your life, and that's kind of like what we were like, Boona, at the start. Yourself, myself, and Matt. We always said right from the start, you know, work, home life, friends, that type of stuff, that comes first before any kind of stream. So we can't do it for whatever reason, it's not happening, you know. But we can clearly see the passion going in behind it. Do you know what? It reminds me kind of like the golf show, which is all over the place. You know what I mean? That's worldwide kind of idea, especially, well, in Europe definitely, but I'm pretty sure it's done further afield than that as well. And that's kind of what this reminds me of. Like what you say, there's plenty of countries that could get touched, you know.
Mate, at the end of the day, I don't mince my words, right? No one's obliged or is being forced to attend. If you don't like it, don't fucking attend, and stop spouting your bullshit negativity, because no one needs to hear it.
And the thing is, well, you know what will happen, Boona, because it always happens, right? So we go ahead with this event. There's 500 people there, just for argument's sake, right? And I guarantee you, all of us that are here now, anyone in the chat that can make it, and everybody else that we've been talking about, your generals, your Salahs, you know, late risers, for example, etc., etc., etc. That was all they're going to see on Twitter. How good it is, how great it is. Then you'll get a whole other raft of people, wish I could have came, missed it out, I can't wait to next year, and it'll just grow and grow and grow momentum.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so, and you know, that's what I want it to become. And I expected some scrutiny from doing it, right? I knew by putting my name on it, there would be some scrutiny of that. But it's like I said, there's no motivation other than trying to help something, trying to help an idea become what it could become.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can, and that's how I got Ed. It was something I talked about with Chris about doing with Scout, because we used to do the Scout Camp every year, which was the contributors to the website. And we used to get a pub, old school style, hire a pub downstairs, 40 or 50 of us, put a car behind the bar, and we used to drink and talk fancy football. We talked about the business. We also talked about, you know, generally about the FPL game. And, you know, we had a good time doing that, right? But we always said, what if we opened this up to the public? And Chris and I were talking about doing it, but we just never got around to doing it. And then when Ed put what about the idea of doing the fest, I jumped on it, and I thought, yeah, this is it. This is what I always wanted to do. So I'm going to lend myself to it and see if I can help it come along. That's it. That's all. That's all that's finding. I haven't sat there gone, right, I made a load of money on Scout. How can I make my next fortune? That's utter nonsense. Yeah. Right? It's just not what I do.
It's about bringing the community together. Like, you might remember as well, I met you at one of the Fantasy Football Scout charity football tournaments that we did.
Yeah, you were bloody good. I remember you, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
don't start. Was it
you play on a tournament, Boona.
Yeah, I was. I don't brag about it, but I'm good at something.
He's always going to remember you saying that to him now, Mark.
Yeah, this is getting clipped.
Someone clip that.
Yeah,
Someone
exactly.
Clip that. But no, in all seriousness, that's something that could come out of this. This isn't necessarily, you know, everyone on a lash. Like, there's going to be community events like this, I presume. You know.
Yeah, well, this is it, and we want it to be like, we want an award show, perhaps. You know, community awards and stuff like that. Football matches, like we said. I mean, I met you on that day. What was I doing? I sat there, I stood on the touchline watching the matches.
Mate, we were talking about, do you remember? I said to you, Captain Mahrez, and he fucking blanked that day. It was a joke. I remember that very well.
But all of that was just for the love of meeting other FPL managers.
It's brilliant.
And I think people just don't believe that there are people out there motivated by the love of FPL to do that, right? They just think, well, they've got to be in it for something. They've got to be on the make. They've got to be on the take for something. And it's like, and obviously, when you put a price on something, it's clearer, right? You can accuse people of that far more easily. But I don't know why. I mean, bloody hell! I tell you what, I'll meet these guys and go through my bloody receipts if I have to, and I'll show them I'm not making any money from it. Because it's you know, I want it to do well, and to do well, I think I can help it get there, right? But I'm not going to get
his
involved.
New RGB lights, his microphone,
it's all my money. Yeah,
yeah, of course it is, Mark.
Mark, can you give me some new curtains, please?
Yeah, you need.
Yeah.
Cheers,
if you're on my podcast, I'd make sure you change your decor. Like,
I might create a new Patreon, £50 entry tier. What do you think?
Kitchen table must be looking very bare, Boona.
Exactly. Yeah, you want some little figures on those shelves behind you. It's just I expected scrutiny, but You know, I've had a bad time of it today, and I do hope that it doesn't go on because I want to stay part of this. I want it to be a success with me on board, and I'm not saying it
You've taken
needs
the feedback
me,
on
but
board. You've adapted, mate. We move on. And if there's any more negativity, just don't entertain it. To be honest, those that want to attend will attend, and that's all that matters. It's like I work for a software company, right? And we talk about those companies that are difficult from the start. We probably don't want them as customers anyway. It's the same thing that applies. Those that kind of give you that grief at the start, you probably don't really want to mingle with them anyway because they're not really that interested. So it is what it is. We move on.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Yeah, I don't expect everyone to like our ideas or like me or as a person necessarily. I don't expect that. But, at the same time, it's wearing when it's already put you through quite a lot on your previous business. I went through quite a lot then. Joe came in to help me. If you speak to Joe about what I went through, Joe was brilliant. He came in as a community manager and he really helped me loads. If he hadn't come in when he did, I don't know what had happened to me mentally at that time. And if I see myself going that way again with this, I just can't do it. So we'll see.
You've got the support of us, and I know looking at the chat is certainly behind you as well, Mark. So positivity.
Question we didn't ask. Let's go back to FPL. Let's forget about this negativity. Let's bring some positivity back. And what we really want to do is understand a bit more about both of your playing styles. Before we do that, though, just a bit of a time check. I don't want to go on far too long. What time? How long have you got left?
Yeah, I'll talk about my family and then I don't see them all evening. I reckon at least another half an hour will be good for us. Fine.
Is that all right with you, Az?
When I get back in the house, I'll weather the storm.
I've got to about 1:30.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's quality.
We'll start with you, Az. I've actually forgot the question, but whatever I just said then, that's the one.
You just saw my window out, 'cause I'm getting blinded by this.
Yeah, that was like me. I had to completely.
You see, if you had these curtains, you'd be fine.
Yeah. Like Boona.
The irony.
Oh,
that's a good call, Boona. I'd forgotten you in that match actually, but now it's all coming back to me. You were a very, very good player. Have you played at a certain level?
No. I just play socially, to be honest. Oh. That was. I peaked at that tournament though because I played in the 2 following. I was atrocious.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, that's
yeah, that just seems to be in the perfect position for you, doesn't it? That one bit.
Move the blinds around. No, the irony that I need Boona's curtains is not lost. I'm just slating them. I should move over this way a bit. There you go.
Aye, so Boona, what were you asking there, pal? Sorry.
Just asking Az and Mark really what their playing style is when it comes to FPL. Okay. Go to Az first.
Play style. I mean, I'm not going to go into another rant about EO and.
Please do. No. That's a whole topic we need to talk about. By the way, before we do that, a massive shout out to Ragabolly because I think the work that he's done on that website is phenomenal, and I think he's actually, believe it or not, had some stick for it as well. That's how poisonous the FPL Twitter community can be, but. Phenomenal. Effective ownership, playing style. Let's talk all about it, please.
Well, we as we like to say, EO is an exciting opportunity. That's what we see EO as.
Unless you're Mark.
I think you can use it positively. I don't think it always has to be horrible. It does play on your mind, doesn't it, when you're making decisions? Like, I don't think the Kane captaincy this week was down to EO. I think it's just
that's
blindingly obvious. You go Kane captain, right?
Yeah. I think I mean, in terms of my play style, I like to back myself. That's always been the way I like to play. And the season when I did best was a season where I think I just started on the scout. I think it was my first proper year of doing the Scoutcast, and it was the year when whatever I said on the Scoutcast I would do. And it's my best, and it's my best season. Whereas now,
top 1K, wasn't it?
Yeah, 817. But now I'm more kind of, I say something, I'm not as afraid of going against it in some ways, because I felt on that first season that I'd say it, and if I did something different, everyone would be like, "Oh, Az is saying he's going to captain Kane and he's captain Salah. What's he talking about?" And it's weird though, because the amount of times that Mark and I do Black Box, the amount of times throughout this season that if I'd stuck with my initial thoughts, all the stuff that I'd really researched and not made these last minute changes and captaincies, and sometimes you do get swayed by what other people are doing and what people are saying and stuff. And it happens a lot when you post your team on Twitter and you get 13 comments of saying, well, why have you benched Soufal this week? He's playing Brighton at home. It's a stupid thing. And it's like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that. I assumed that was the logical thing to do. And then you change it. I would say 90% of the time, it's the wrong option, you know? And I think using Twitter, and I'm guilty of it because I do it all the time. I post a poll and I say, who should I play out of these 3 players? And I go with it and stuff. And Twitter's amazing and everyone's got ideas and stuff. But at the end of the day, especially for someone who's as involved in FPL as I am, looking at stats, watching matches and stuff, what's the point of asking other people what they're going to do? Because
I'll tell you why.
I'm gonna watch or listen.
We know why. It's because when it goes wrong, you've got somebody else you can blame, and you don't look at yourself.
Exactly.
That's why.
I hate people who do that.
Right?
Yeah, it pisses me off. There's so many people that do that on Twitter. And I know so many content creators that get shit for that as well in their DMs. It's ridiculous. People need to own their decisions. If you haven't got the balls to make your own decisions, then don't give other people shit.
That's what it's all about to me. It's all about playing in a way which lets me own my own decisions. Yeah. So, you know, going for a player and getting slated for it, I have no problem with. Yeah. Or going against a player who everyone's bringing in. I always remember Willian years ago. I mean, he was bought in by pretty much every single person on Twitter because I think Chelsea had a good run and he was playing in the team, and I just didn't feel anything towards him. I'd been watching matches, I was looking at the stats, and I just couldn't understand why this guy was getting as much traction as he was. And I just completely ignored it. And I just remember that being a real key moment of my season. And of course you get times when you might ignore it and it goes against you and Willian goes and scores a hat-trick in the next game and all that. But at least you've done it with your own knowledge and your own backing yourself to make that decision. And if you don't do that,
it's the same thing as people copying people's teams, isn't it? Really, though, isn't it? It's the same thing.
I think the thing is though, like what you're saying there, as it is annoying, and that is the Twitter sphere. But I can't remember who it was, Buna, but we had I don't know if it was Raptor, I can't remember. But we had one of the guests came on, and what he was saying was basically, if you've got your whole EO debate and all the rest of it, Gee Whiz would tell you just play with your gut, go with what your gut says. The thing with Twitter is that it's such a small bubble really in comparison of what is it, and I know there's not 7-8 million people actually playing it. It might be nearer, I don't know, what we thinking, 4 million maybe, 3 or 4 million.
Probably less.
Because a lot of people, do away with it and all the rest of it. But even then, with Twitter, that's probably just a percent, half a percent of the actual rest of the people that are playing. And then who was it? I can't remember, Bruno, who it was we had on. Basically, one FPL never had Salah in his team the whole season, and Salah was the top point getter that season. So that to me is the proof in the pudding right there.
That was the Everton fan, wasn't it?
It was he had no Liverpool players.
Yeah,
in his team the whole season.
Yeah. So there you go. So yeah, but I do agree though, as it is, Twitter's such a thing for me that I'm trying my hardest to kind of not let it influence my decisions. I'm the same.
I love talking to people. I love all the different opinions people have got. I like listening to different podcasts. All of that is stuff. But when it comes down to it, when you're making those transfers on that team select screen, they've got to come from you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, because Twitter will steer you like sheep, to go down one path.
Easily done.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Buna.
No. It was nothing from me. Conscious of time, we won't go on too much longer. But what would you say? One key takeaway for both of you from this season going into next season, starting with you, Mark. If there was one thing that you'd kind of take, good or bad, something that's maybe worked well for you, or maybe not worked as well, and you'd kind of alter your game accordingly.
That's really hard. I think what I want to just keep doing though is log my thought process going into every game week and make continue to. I'm going to do it in a different form. I might well do it with video where I kind of speak to camera about what I'm thinking at a particular time, why I'm making that certain transfer. At the moment, I'm kind of writing stuff down and going right, on a Saturday morning or Friday night, what I'm thinking about that, why I'm making that transfer, because then you can look back at it, and if it goes wrong, you can go right. Okay, well, was there anything wrong with the thought process? The thing is, you can't judge a decision on the output necessarily. If it's a sound decision, what happens over the course of 90 minutes can be, it's so much variance. You can't beat yourself up about it. But I think if you've got, what you've got to get right is why you made a certain decision. And yeah, I mean, that's what Black Box is all about, right? It's about analysing that and coming up with a way of improving based on what you've done in the past. And so next season, I'm going to take that up a level and probably will record some of my thoughts and videos.
Are you going to post those videos?
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Obviously, I'll do a Patreon first and charge for it, so I'm not stupid.
I was just going to say,
can I get the early joining link if that's all right?
As I can see you setting up a like a Black Box TikTok, you know, and get in there, start fleeting. What's the new social thing on Twitter now that you can actually do the videos and get like a room or whatever it is? Spaces, yeah, Spaces, yeah. That'll be.
Do you know what? I actually messaged Mark a few weeks ago and said I'm going to break FPL TikTok. Not break it in like a Kim Kardashian way, but like break into it, you know. But then I realised that I don't have any ideas to actually do it. But it's on my list.
It's on the to-do list.
It is.
Have a word with FPL graduates, mate.
I'm not as young as I used to be. I look at TikTok and I think, what the hell is going on this?
Yeah, no, I couldn't.
I've only just got used to Twitter, as I couldn't go TikTok.
No. Yeah, you're way behind, Mark.
I'm 42. I'm getting there. I still can't figure out the camera situation, but we'll get there, Boona. Don't worry about it.
A random question, but are you still in contact with Granville, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I miss those days when Granville used to come on FF Scout because I thought the camaraderie between you two in particular was brilliant. I know you had him on earlier this season as well. Yeah, and he played. I mean, he's having a great season as well.
We should get him on again.
We'll get him back.
We should get him back before the end of the season.
Yeah, he only got 18 points this game.
Perfect this week.
I know. So he was on Twitter, I noticed, saying, "Oh, can we all get 2 points for our players that didn't play?" I was like, nice idea, but he had a tough game week, but he's had a much better season. So hopefully, that continues for him. I wish him well. I don't see him often because obviously we can't see anyone in person at the moment. But when I'm back at work, I will see him often, and we'll talk about FBL when our paths cross and stuff. And yeah, I miss those old days, those innocent old days where we got together in the studio and just recorded a scout cast with 5 minutes preparation. It was chaotic but fun, right? Things have moved on now. There's so many podcasts and streams and stuff like that. Things are more professional in a way, and things have grown right from that. So I can look back to those days, but at the same time, I'm enjoying how that's evolved to what I'm doing now with Az on Black Box, and we'll have Granville on again. We'll have him on to start moaning and griping.
Brilliant.
You've led perfectly onto another question then, Mark, about podcasts. Is there a go-to that you listen to outside of the typical your own stuff and FF Scout on a weekly basis, or not really?
Yeah, loads. So it depends. I mean, I think there's always like a podcast for your mood, isn't there? I like the fact that always cheating comes first, because it kind of eases you into the new game week in a really kind of gentle way. It's not really kind of hits you with loads of data. It's more about the personalities and the relationship between Josh and Brandon there, and I love it. Right? I love listening to that one first because it's just a gentle introduction to the new game, like I say. And then there's others. I mean, the Planet FBL stuff. What of their 25 podcasts in a week do you listen to? Right. So I always try and get from their content. Who got the assist, because they do a lot of data stuff, so I listen to theirs. Surgery, I listen to theirs. It's not the same ones every week. The only ones I listen to every week, I would say, is I listen to Always Cheating every week, and I listen to something from Sudge and James every week, whatever that is.
Great content from Sudge and James, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think those two work really well together, and they've got that kind of that X factor between them. They feed off each other really well, and so I watch one of theirs every week, at least one. But there's others I pick up. I mean, Generals I pick up every other week sometimes, depending on... I often listen to Generals because I want to know what he's up to, because I want to spy on him. And it's useful. People who are players that I admire and want to track, I want to listen to their content, right? So Generals is...
Well, you've just crawled ahead of Andy now as well. So I imagine you listen to him a little bit, or just see what he's doing.
Oh, we're both sick of Andy, aren't we? No, I mean, Andy's brilliant, isn't he? What
he doesn't need more views.
No, he doesn't. He's so prolific. He works so hard to do his stuff. He deserves the success he's had. So good luck to him, because I remember when he started doing that, and he was with us on Scout, and I was like, oh yeah, we don't mind you doing a few bits and pieces on your channel. And at the time, if someone said, he's going to have 150,000 subscribers in a few years, I'd be like, "Oh, we're not letting him do that." Jesus Christ! But yeah, it's amazing the success he's had, and good luck to him. And if Az and I get anywhere near that, we'll probably be dead by the time we get to that level. But I mean, it's brilliant what he's done. So I listen. My son loves Andy, right? My son wants Andy on in the morning on Saturday. Yeah, and he loves Az as well. I don't know who he loves more, Az or Andy. So, like Sharko, Jani has that bit where and he runs to one of the captain choices. What I plan to do at Fest, if we can get Andy down, is I'm going to have Az in one corner and Andy in the other. Just let my son go and see which one my son runs to. So it's going to be pretty close.
I need to win the league. I need to win the league he set up. If I win that, then I'm reckoning.
Yeah, maybe you get it, but yeah.
And what about you? What about yourself, Az? Yeah. What casts gets you going? What do you listen to?
I've got to be honest. I don't listen to any regularly, so I wouldn't say I've got one I listen to every week. I mean, I really like FPL Surgery, and one of the main reasons is because I get on really well with Josh, one of the hosts of it. I've known him for years. Boona, you know him well. He's in our league. He set up. Mark's talking about FF Fest. We have our own little mini fest that we do every year called at Belushi's in London. And Josh was the organizer and ringleader of that. So when he said that he was doing a pod, I was really excited because he is a very, very good FPL manager. He knows a hell of a lot about the game. And with Flapjack as well, they've got completely different styles. They bounce off each other really well. So I'm really glad to see him doing so well. And then and I like the ones I tend to listen to more pods which are more like this, which are more about play styles and strategy and history of managers, and I think there should be more of those, because personally, as someone who spends so much time looking at fantasy football and watching football and stuff, I can't be asked to listen to more content that's about XG and stats and fixtures and all that, because I know it all. I spend so much time looking at it. So it's much more about personality for me and entertainment, and it's one of the reasons why I really like Andy, who does the Wolf Pod, because I think the way he talks to people and he gets information.
Here we go again, Az. Andy this,
Andy that. I know, but he's good.
Just he looks like you, right? You can't.
Yeah. But Luke as well, and it's one of the reasons why Luke and I like doing Top Gun so much. I think because we had a good. You don't want it's turning into another loving, isn't it, Mark? You had to go at me for this last time.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've really enjoyed this because it's kind of laid back, casual kind of chat about your play style and what's going on and stuff like that. And when I did Wolf Pod with Andy, it's the same kind of thing. He had that approach, which is just like, I'm going to ask you some questions. I've got some lined up, but actually we're just going to see where it goes. Yeah. And you've got to be pretty skillful to do that really well. And he did it really well, and you guys have done it really well tonight. So, hats off, right? Because it's not easy to do. Not everyone can do it.
It was a bit of a blunt. Sorry, Az.
Read off a I was just going to say it's easy to read off a table and read stats and look at fixtures and stuff. But when you're actually be interested in people and to actually get people talking, and the way you've got Mark talking about Fest and how we coming from Scout, that stems from the fact that you guys are like interested, right? Yeah, you're present. You actually care about what he has to say. So I think that's a good skill as a host of something like this.
Yeah. Oh, thanks very much for that. That was the concept, if you like. I know we had a name change just in the last week there.
Name change.
But that was the atmosphere that we were looking to create, exactly as you've said. As it was more just a group of like-minded people just getting together for a blether, getting to know them better. Because as you say, we could easily go in and delve into different stats and all the rest of it, but let's just get to know the people a bit better. That was the idea right from the beginning, and funnily enough, for my OCD, it's worked out well, Boona, because this is number 37, so this is the 37th show that we've done of this nature, and by game week 38, the very last one of that time will be 40. So for my OCD, it's done perfect. What's that?
Do me a favour, sort my OCD out and sort your visuals out for the next stream, won't you?
All right, okay, yeah, no, we'll give it a go, but no.
I think we should probably end it on that positive note, to be honest. I think that's been a brilliant stream, and I know my Boona's in the it's cooking at the moment, so looking forward to having that. But unless you want to say anything else, Lama, go for it, pal.
No, not really. It was just obviously, again, just on behalf of the chat, thank you obviously to the chat for joining us this evening. Been a great stream as always, and time as always has flown in, which is brilliant. So thank you very much for joining us. before Boone, I'll let you wrap things up. Obviously, you do it better than me. But Mark, as if for some unbeknown reason people don't know where to find you or don't know how to interact with you, because I'm pretty certain everybody does. Just in case
everyone
they
knows
don't.
Mark. I'm just not sure.
Yeah. I'm the other guy.
Please do take the time to pimp yourself out.
Do you want to take it, Mark, or I did the smash and likes, don't I?
Yeah, I mean, for me, just give Black Box a go. That's what I mean. You know, I'm putting everything into that every week with Az, and that's my thing, right? And I really care about it and want it to grow into something more than it is. You know, I've got some ideas for what we do with content next season, and Az said, yeah, you just do it. So he's going to let me do some things. So for me, it's just like, come and watch an episode of Black Box. If you enjoy it, keep watching. If you don't, fair enough. Go and find some other great content, because there's lots out there. But just, you know, just come and pay us a visit and see what we're doing. So Black Box is the only thing I want to pimp. Obviously, Fest. Hopefully, you've listened to what I've said today, and you know, you can see what it means to me that I'm not misunderstood with that. Today's been an unfortunate day, but hopefully we put it right, and hopefully we can do the party and launch the whole idea with that party, and then go on from there and have many events in the future, and it'll be something the community look forward to every year. But if it doesn't work out, fair enough. You know, I'm just giving it a go. I'm trying and hoping it's a success, and we'll see where it goes.
Oh, definitely.
That's me.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. Az, anything you want to add, mate?
Smash and like Black Box. YouTube.com/FPL Black Box. Come and have a look.
Superb. Thank you very much, boys. Thanking you. Boona, I'll let you wrap things up, pal, if you want.
Yeah, so what they said, make sure you go give Black Box a watch. I'm pretty sure most of our viewers will know FPL Black Box. Is it Black Box or is it FPL Black Box?
FPL Black Box.
FPL.
It's FPL Black
Right.
Box, yeah.
Get it right, Boona. Come on.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I mean,
so
both
no
the
worries. I'll get it
emblems
right
have been
next time.
flashing up all the way through the stream every time they talk, and it tells you it's him.
But, look, massive thank you to both of you for joining us today. It's been brilliant. I've been waiting to get you guys on for quite some time, and for us to be able to do it with cameras on for the first time as well, despite how bad it looks, it's been brilliant. So thank you for coming on. And if you know the people joining in today have enjoyed the stream, please do consider hitting that like button and subscribing. We're up to 860 subscriptions now, so not far from 900. We would really appreciate that. And for those also that are new to the channel, if you're not aware of what we do, basically interviews like this every single Thursday, usually at 5 p.m. In fact, this Thursday we have got Tom from Who Got the Assist joining us, so that should be yet another brilliant stream.
I found some better sounds no one's ever heard. I wish I had a better voice that sang some better words. I wish I found some chords in an order that is new. I wish I didn't have to rhyme every time I sang. I was told when I get older all my fears would shrink, but now I'm insecure and I care what people think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think.